pra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, let's resume. It's my mouse. I can't see my mouse. Why? 3.4.22 purport. Badrikashrama in the Himalayas, the abode of the Naranarayana sages, is a great place of pilgrimage for the Hindus. Even up to the present, hundreds and thousands of pious Hindus go to pay respects to the incarnation of Godhead, Naranarayana. It appears that even 5,000 years ago, this holy place was being visited by such a holy being as Uddhava. And even at that time, the place was known to be very, very old. This particular pilgrimage site is very difficult to visit for ordinary men because of its difficult situation in the Himalayas. In a place which is covered by ice almost all year. For a few months during the summer season, people can visit this place at great personal inconvenience. There are 4 dhams or kingdoms of God which represent the planets of the spiritual sky, which consists of the Brahmajyoti and the Vaikunthas. These are the Badrikashrama, Rameshwara, Jagannath Puri, and Dwaraka. Faithful Hindus still visit all these holy places for perfection of spiritual realization, following in the footsteps of devotees like Uddhava. 23. Ishukovacha. इत्युद्ध्वादुपाकर्ण्यं सुहृदां दुस्सहं वधं ज्ञानेनाशमयत् क्षता शोकम् उत्पतितं बुधः. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, after hearing from Uddhava all about the annihilation of his friends and relatives, the learned Vidura pacified his overwhelming bereavement by dint of his transcendental knowledge. Jnanena, Vivekena, by dint of his transcendental knowledge means by dint of his discrimination. Suhradam vadham dussaham api Uddhavarthakashat ityevam prakarakam upakarna. Itya upakarnya, it should be, no? Upakarnya. Ityanvaya. Even though the destruction of his well-wishers was intolerable, still he pacified his overwhelming bereavement by dint of his transcendental knowledge. Jnane Krishna Dyumani Nimloche इत्यादि उद्धवोक्ति तात्पर्य पर्यालोचना जनितेन. The transcendental knowledge here refers to that which came about by analyzing the purport of Uddhava's statements, such as when the son of Krishna, when the son like Krishna had descended. There was that statement right earlier on. So Vidura was intelligent to understand all this. Vidura was informed that the result of the Battle of Kurukshetra was the annihilation of his friends and relatives, as well as the destruction of the other dynasty and also the passing away of the Lord. All these hurled him into bereavement for the time being. But because he was highly advanced in transcendental knowledge, he was quite competent to pacify himself by enlightenment. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, due to our long association with bodily relationships, bereavement on account of the annihilation of friends and relatives is not at all astonishing, but one has to learn the art of subduing such bereavement with higher transcendental knowledge. The talks between Uddhava and Vidura on the topic of Krishna began at sunset, and Vidura was now further advanced in knowledge due to his association with Uddhava. I think there's a transcription error here. the talks between Uddhava and Vidura on the topic of the setting of the sun like Krishna was on the topic of the setting of the sun like Krishna. It should have been like that. And Vidura was now further advanced in knowledge due to his association with Uddhava. 24. Satam Mahabhagavatam Rajantam Kauravarshambhaha Visrambhad Abhyadhatedam Mukhyam Krishna Parigrahe. While Uddhava, the chief and most confidential amongst the devotees of the Lord, was going away, Vidura, in affection and confidence, questioned him. Swami, Srambha, Vishwasa. In affection and confidence. Vishrambhat pranayat. Okay. Vishrambha pranaye picha iti amaraha. This is in accordance with Amara Ghosha. Vishrambha can mean Vishrambhat can mean in affection. Vishrambhat can also mean in confidence. Vishrambhat, Vishwasat, Swataha, Atikanishtham api. Api Krishna parigrahe, Krishnam parigrahitum vashikaratum mukhyam swataha atisreshtham. So Vidura, for him, even though Uddhava was much younger to him, but he was capable of bringing Lord Krishna under his loving control. And therefore, he was far superior to him, far elder to him in spirituality, in devotion. अतः कनिष्ठापि भक्ति उद्रेकवन्तः ज्येष्ठैः अपि गुरुः कर्तव्यः इत्यत्र विदुरवाक्यमेव प्रमाणमिति बोधितम्. So from this, there is clear evidence that even younger persons, they should accept elder persons who are superior in bhakti as their gurus. Here, Vidura's statement is itself the evidence. This is understood from this section, chat box. But for general people, it is very difficult to digest when they lose their relatives, how to deal with them in those conditions. And they should be taught Bhagavad Gita, they should be requested to engage in chanting and all that. Gradually only they will understand. We can't speak with them about transcendental knowledge at that time. Then how? Actually, traditionally in India, at that time only they read out the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita and explain Atma Tattva, the truth about the spirit soul, how it doesn't die even when the body dies. This is traditionally there in Hindu culture. Vidura was much older than Uddhava. By family relationship, Uddhava was a contemporary brother of Krishna's, while Vidura was as elderly as Krishna's father, Vasudeva. But although junior by age, Uddhava was much advanced in the devotion service of the Lord, and therefore he is described herein as the chief amongst the devotees of the Lord. Vidura was confident about this, and thus he addressed Uddhava in that higher category. That is the way of courteous dealings between two devotees. 25. Dhruvacha. Jnanam param swatma rahah prakasham yadaha yogeshwara ishwaraste vaktum bhava norhati yadhi vishnor nritya swabhrityartha kritascharanti. Vidura said, O Uddhava, because the servants of Vishnu, the Lord, wander in the interest of serving others, it is quite fit that you kindly describe the self-knowledge with which you have been enlightened by the Lord himself. Yad yasmad Vishnor bhrityaha swabhritya prayojana sadhakaha santaha charanti. Because the servants of Vishnu, they wander about while bringing about the fulfillment of the purposes of their servants. Therefore, you should enlighten them. nahi kritarthanam anyat krityamasti ityarthah. Those who are already accomplished in their purposes have no other duty to perform regarding their purpose. Ramasandra. यद्देव ज्ञानम सह असाधारणः यः भृत्यार्थः भवत्पदाम्भोजन निषेवनोत्सुकः इत्युक्त अनुसारेण सेवारूपः तत्कारिणः विष्णोर्भृत्याः चरन्ति अनुतिष्ठन्ति तस्य ज्ञानस्य भक्तिमयत्वं व्यक्तम्. Here describe the self-knowledge. This knowledge is actually a reference to devotional service to the Supreme Lord. This is understood from 3.4.15. Those who execute devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, they are the ones who are said to have this knowledge. So it is clear that the knowledge that is being spoken of here is that which is filled with bhakti, Krishna bhakti, devotional service unto Lord Krishna's lotus feet. अतएव अस्मिन् वाक्ये पूर्वोक्त श्रीमद् उद्धव वाक्ये च रह शब्दः चतुश्लोकी पठित रहस्य शब्देन समान अर्थतया निर्दिष्टः. In this verse, raha, mystery. And previously also, we came across the word mystery, raha, rahas, raha. That it has been just pointed out that this rahasya, raha is the same as rahasya. This mystery, confidential truth, rahasya, is having the same meaning as the word rahasya in the Chatushloki of Bhagavata. अतः श्री भगवद वाक्ये मन महिमाव भासमिति महिमा शब्दस्य अपि तत्पर्यन्ततायामेव तात्पर्यम्. So when the Supreme Lord in 3.4.13 also says that I had spoken the Bhagavatam, there also Chatushloki was described as that which reveals my glories. Mat Mahima Avabhasam. Here Mahima refers to glory. Mat Mahima means my glory, Krishna's glory. So this rahasya, the meaning of this word rahasya culminates in the meaning of this word mat mahima. अतः तथा भूतः विप्रेमवशः एव अहं तथा तथा नरलीला आदौ आविष्टः भवामि इति श्री भगवता सिद्धान्तितमपि परमस्थिति शब्दस्य अपि अत्रैव तात्पर्यम्. Despite this, the Supreme Lord is overcome by love for the Lord, and therefore he behaves in his human-like pastimes and so on. But nevertheless, we understand the factual nature of the Supreme Lord from this. Chakravarti, naha asmabhyam iti asmadoho dvayoho cha iti ekatve api dutve api bahutvam. That's a grammatical note that the plural number has been used here, even though it is with reference to the singular number or dual number. Here, yasmat Vishnoho Vrityaha Vaishnavaha Svavrityanam Bhakti Upadeshu Rupam Kurvanaha Kripaya Adya Lokanam Guravaha Bhavantaha Eva Brahmanti. Vishnu's servants are the Vaishnavas. In order to, for the sake of their servants, they are engaged in instructing them about Vishnu Bhakti. Out of mercy, they become the gurus of the ignorant populace and they wander about here and there. Atastat sevaka abhimanine mahyam bhagavad jnanam upadishat ityarthaha. So I consider myself to be a servant of such Vaishnavas like you. So please teach me about that knowledge about Bhagavan. That is what he wants to convey. The servants of the Lord are actually the servants of society. They have no interest in human society other than to enlighten it in transcendental knowledge. They're interested in imparting knowledge of the relationship of the living being with the Supreme Lord, the activities in that transcendental relationship, and the ultimate goal of human life. That is the real knowledge which can help society achieve the real aim of human welfare. Knowledge in the matter of the bodily necessities of eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing, transformed into various branches of advancement of knowledge, is all temporary. The living being is not the material body, but an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Being, and thus the revival of his self-knowledge is essential. Without this knowledge, the human life is baffled. The servants of the Lord, Vishnu, are entrusted with this responsible work, and so they wander over the earth and to all other planets in the universe. Thus, the knowledge which was received by Uddhava directly from the Lord deserves to be distributed in human society, especially to persons like Vidura, who are highly advanced in the devotional service of the Lord. The real transcendental knowledge descends in the disciplic succession from the Lord to Uddhava, from Uddhava to Vidura, and so on. Such supreme transcendental knowledge is not possible to achieve by the process of imperfect speculation as performed by the so-called learned mundane wranglers. Wrangler means an argumentative person. Vidura was anxious to know from Uddhava that confidential knowledge known as Paramam Sthitim, the supreme state, in which the Lord is known by his transcendental pastimes. So, in that supreme state, we understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is engaged in his transcendental pastimes. Although Vidura was older than Uddhava, he was anxious to become a servant of Uddhava in the transcendental relationship. This formula of transcendental disciplic succession is taught by Lord Chaitanya also. Lord Chaitanya advises that one receive transcendental knowledge from anyone, whether a Brahmana or a Shudra, a householder or a sannyasi, provided that person is factually conversant with the signs of Krishna. A person who knows the signs of Krishna is factually a bona fide spiritual master. 26. Uddhava Vacha. Nanote tattva samradhya. Rishi kaushara vonti ke. Sakshat bhagavatadishto martilokam jihasata. So Uddhava said, you may take lessons from the great learned sage Maitreya, who is nearby and who is worshipable for reception of transcendental knowledge. Who is worshipable for reception of transcendental knowledge means who is worshipable because he received transcendental knowledge. He was directly instructed by the personality of Godhead while the latter was about to quit this mortal world. Tattvaya samradhya iti. He is worshipable for transcendental knowledge. Ayam bhavaha. This is the point. Bhagavata eva smaramatrena tava api tattvam buddhishta prayam. By the Supreme Lord, simply by remembrance of the Supreme Lord, the truth has almost been described to you. Atha kevalam asambhavanadi nivrittaye jnani kaschit aradhyaha. Now, in order to get rid of doubts about the impossibility of attaining spiritual perfection and so on, some knowledgeable soul has to be worshipped. Sacha tava aradhyaha maitreyaha natu aham. And that object of worship is Maitreya, not me. Mama antika eva tvad upadeshe tasya adishtatvad. Because while he was next to me, he was instructed in that which needs to be instructed to you. Chakravarti Thakur. Idam abhyarhaniyam katham aham shishikuryam iti swagatam bruvan. And then Uddhava, he told himself, here is a worshipable soul. How can I accept him as my Shishya? Ye Mahabhaga, Yad Bhagavad Mukhat Avagatam, Tasya, Tadiya Yadava Adinam Cha Dehatyagam Vina Eva, Swaswadhamasthitatvam, Tat Tat Maya Uktameva. Oh, my dear, greatly fortunate one, whatever I have understood from the mouth of Bhagavan, uh, except for uh, the death of his Yadavas and except for his annihilation, I have already spoken that they are all situated in their respective dhamas. Kintu tadiya janma karmadya shesha vishesha tattvani jigyasase chet. But if you have a desire to know about the various specific truths which are unlimited in number pertaining to his birth, activities, and so on, tarhi, then Rishihi Maitreya eva Guru Kartavya. You should accept Maitreya Rishi as your Guru. Ityaha nanu iti. With this in mind, he speaks the current verse. Nanu nishchitameva. For sure. Nanu has here means for sure. However, indicates that, you know, for sure. Tasya bhavaha tattvam tena swavrityartha tatvena guruttvena iti yavat. Samradhya aradhya maitreya eva natu aham. यतः त्वत् उपदेशार्थमान्तिके भगवता साक्षात् स आदिष्ट एव. It is Maitreya who should be worshipped by you, not me, because he has been taught by Bhagavan himself. Actually, for that knowledge to reach you. Although one may be well versed in the transcendental science, one should be careful about the offense of Maryada Vyatikrama or impertinently surpassing a greater personality. According to scriptural injunction, one should be very careful of transgressing the law of Maryada Vyatikrama, because by so doing, one loses his duration of life, his opulence, fame, and piety, and the blessings of all the world. To be well versed in the transcendental science necessitates awareness of the techniques of spiritual science. Uddhava, being well aware of all these technicalities of transcendental science, advised Vidura to approach Maitreya Rishi to receive transcendental knowledge. Vidura wanted to accept Uddhava as a spiritual master, but Uddhava did not accept the post because Vidura was as old as Uddhava's father, and therefore Uddhava could not accept him as his disciple, especially when Maitreya was present nearby. The rule is that in the presence of a higher personality, one should not be very eager to impart instructions, even if one is competent and well versed. So Uddhava decided to send an elderly person like Vidura to Maitreya, another elderly person, but one who was also well versed, because he was directly instructed by the Lord while the Lord was about to quit this mortal world. Since both Uddhava and Maitreya were directly instructed by the Lord, both had the authority to become the spiritual master of Vidura or anyone else. But Maitreya, being elderly, had the first claim to becoming the spiritual master, especially for Vidura, who was much older than Uddhava. One should not be eager to become a spiritual master cheaply for the sake of profit and fame, but should become a spiritual master only for the service of the Lord. The Lord never tolerates the impertinence of Maryada Vyatikrama. One should never pass over the honor due an elderly spiritual master in the interests of one's own personal gain and fame. Impertinence on the part of the pseudo-spiritual master is very risky to progressive spiritual realization. Okay, it looks like there are a number of things here in the chat box. Go through this. How devotees reach Vaikuntha or any other planets after perfection of their life? That comes in Vedanta Sutra. Those who the Swanishthas over several lifetimes they go to Brahmaloka, and when Brahma gets liberated, at that time they also get liberated. That's a whole process, how they attain Vaikuntha. That same process is followed for the Parinishtitas, when of just like when the Swanishtas, when they're fit, then they are brought to Brahmaloka. So like that, and only when they are fit, they are taken to Vaikuntha. So like that, Parinishtitas also, when they are sufficiently pure, then that is their last life. And it is actually expected that they should become pure within one life. So that when they die, the same, whoever comes to, there are some associates of Lord Vishnu, whose duty is to bring souls from material existence to the spiritual world. So they come and they take the soul for Parinishtitas. Nirapekshas, they enter into Samadhi, which is what we refer to as Krishna Prema. And because they enter into this Samadhi, they do not even know that their body has died. Whereas externally, we consider that they have left their bodies. So they go to another planet where I'm talking of those who are going to Goloka Vrindavan, etc. So they go to another planet where Krishna Lila is happening, so that they get trained by the Nityasiddhas. And then when Krishna winds up those pastimes, then at that time they are in from Gokula Vrindavan, they are transferred to Goloka Vrindavan. Okay. Provided that the person is factually conversant with the signs of Krishna. Here it is mentioned one conversant with the signs of Krishna, then only he has to preach. But we try to preach without having that. Is it proper? No, it is not proper. Therefore, we should study. Therefore, we should study. What and all things to be known to be conversant with the signs of Krishna. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. These are the most important scriptures to be studied. Techniques of spiritual science means the various do's and don'ts and cans and cannots. That's what is referred to as techniques. Achyutanam Prabhu.
Prabhuji, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada was writing that Lord never tolerates this Maryada Vatikram, offense of Maryada Vatikram. So, from which scripture is this coming? Like, I just was curious to know the source of it, of the line, of the statement.
This is all very common in Dharma Shastras, in Mahabharata. They are filled with all these instructions. Who can teach, who cannot teach. So many things are there. So if you go through the Dharma Shastras, you can easily get all this. This is all just ordinary common sense in Vedic civilization. Okay, let's move on. 27. Shukravacha. Iti saha vidurena vishwamurtir gunakathaya sudhaya plavito rutapaha. Kshanamiva puline yamasvasustam samushita aupagavir nisham tato gat. Yamasvasu. Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, after this discussing with Vidura, the Lord's transcendental name, fame, qualities, etc., on the bank of the Yamuna, Uddhava was overwhelmed with great affliction. He passed the night as if it were a moment, and thereafter he went away. Vishyamurthe sarvataha sakshad iva spurataha ateva virahe api gunakathaya ityadi. Gunakathaya ityadi. Vishwamurte, of the universal person. This is referred to here because for Vidura, for Uddhava, Lord Krishna appeared to be everywhere and immediately present. So even while feeling separation from him, he discoursed on Krishna's transcendental qualities. ताम निशाम क्षणमिव समुषितः औपगविः औपगवस्य अपत्यम् उद्धवः ततः प्रातरगात्. Uddhava, for him, the night passed away as if it were a moment, and then he went away. The word used here for Krishna is Vishwamurti. Both Uddhava and Vidura. What is this? Techniques of spirituality. You read the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, tells you all the most important things. The word used here for Krishna is Vishwamurti. Here, Vishwamurti, derived from Vishwamurti. Vishwamurti is the stem, Pratipadika. Vishwamurti is the usable form, Shabdarupa. Both Uddhava and Vidura were in great affliction because of Lord Krishna's departure. And the more they discussed the transcendental name, fame, and qualities of the Lord, the more the picture of the Lord became visible to them everywhere. Such visualization of the transcendental form of the Lord is neither false nor imaginary, but is factual absolute truth. When the Lord is perceived as Vishwamurti, it is not that he loses his personality or transcendental eternal form, but he becomes visible in the same form everywhere. Vishwa also means everywhere. 28. Rajovacha. Nithanam apagateshu vrishni-bhojyeshu adhiratayuthapayuthapeshu mukhya. Satu katham avashishta uddhavo yad dharirapi tatyaja akritim triyadishaha. The king inquired, at the end of the pastimes of the Lord of the three worlds, Sri Krishna, and after the disappearance of the members of the Vrishni and Bhoja dynasties, who were the best of the great commanders, why did Uddhava alone remain? Yeah. Here it is said, Harihi Akritim Tatyaje. Lord Hari, Akriti can also mean form, and Tatyaje can also mean abandoned. So Harihi api Akritim Tatyaje will then mean Lord Hari also gave up his form, gave up his body. That gives the impression that Krishna is also like a conditioned soul who gives up his body. Madhvacharya has noted, Akritim Prithivim. Akriti, according to the Sanskrit dictionary itself, can mean Prithvi, the earth. So Harihi api tatyaje akritim will then mean Harihi api tatyaje Prithvi. He left this Prithvi. And then he gives evidence. Shariram akritish deha kuh Prithvi mahi tatha. These are all synonyms. Sharira, akriti, deha, ku, Prithvi, and mahi. Swami. Brahma shapena nidhanam prapteshu yat yasmat prayana brahma adina ishaha harihi api akritam manushya akaram tyaktavan. When the Vrishni and the Bhojas had attained destruction by the curse of the Brahmanas, when the Supreme Lord, Hari, was the Lord of the three predominating deities, beginning with Brahma, he gave up his human-like form, Manushya Akaram. Ramasandarbha, Nidhanam, Nitaram Dhanam, Swarupam, Nitaram Dhanaswarupam. Shri Krishna Nitya Leela Dhama. Here, Nidhanam in Sanskrit can mean destruction, but Nidhanam can also be split into Nitaram Dhanam. And Dhana, wealth, can mean that which is like wealth. So Shri Krishna's eternal pastimes and his abode, that is the wealth of the Vrishnis and Bhojas. And that is a very exalted wealth for them. We already saw the evidences that were given by Jiva Goswami. How the residents of Dwaraka were absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Samipatah Vivadhanam Vinayeva Gateshu. The word Upagateshu has been used here, which indicates that without any interruption, they directly entered into the Lord's eternal pastimes and abode. So to Katham Avashishtaha. So they all entered into Krishna's eternal pastimes and abode. How is it that Uddhava alone was left behind? Eka eva prapanchistitha. He alone is situated in this material existence. Yat yasmatrayanam brahma adinam mahatsrashtra adinam va adhishaha harihi akritim virat akaram tyattavan. And Lord Hari, he is the Lord of the three. Lord of the three can refer to the Lord of the three predominating deities headed by Brahma. Or the Lord of the three can also refer to the Lord of the three Purusha avatars. The first Purusha avatara being the creator of the Mahatattva. So Lord Hari, he gave up Akritim. Akritim, even if you take it to mean form, it can refer to Virat Akaram. He gave up the universal form. Martya lokam jihasata iti asmat lokat uparate iti purva apara anurodha. Because before and after this, it will be pointed out that the Supreme Lord gave up this world of the mortals. So from that we understand that he gave up this Akriti, Virat Akriti, this universal form, Chakravarti. Nidhanam, Nasham, Yat Yasmatya Dhishaha, Harihi Api, Samyak Prakarena Kritim, Cheshtam, Leelam, Tatyaja, Samapti Chakara, Iti Prakataha Artaha. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has also pointed out another explicit meaning. Lord Hari, who is the Lord of the trees, he completed all of his pastimes. Akriti. Is also an upasarga, meaning completely. Kriti simply means activities. These are very commonly used. Kriti, Cheshta, Leela. Kriti means activity. Vasutastu nitaram dhanam sarvasvam krishnam prapancha agochari bhutamapi upagateshu nikata prapteshu vrishnyadishu satu uddhava katham avashishtaha. In reality, they had attained their all in all, their treasure, Krishna, who despite being outside of the range of prapancha, they had the Vishnis and others, they had attained him. But Uddhava alone, he was left behind. How's that? Adiya viraha santapam upalabdhum eka amshena api prakatataya stitya anauchityaditi bhavaha. Because it is appropriate. It is not appropriate. It's not appropriate for him to be situated even to a small extent. न च स वृष्णादिश अप्रसिद्धो मंतव्य यतः अधिरथे इत्यादि. First of all, he would be overcome by separation. So why was he left? That is the first point. And then the second point, one should not think that he was unimportant amongst the Yadavas, amongst the Vrishnis, Bhojas, because he is described as Yuthapeshu Mukhya. Uddhava was prominent among the commanders in chief of the Vrishni and Bhoja dynasty. He was very prominent amongst all of them. Nanu badarim tvam prayahi iti bhagavadagyam katham anyatha kuryat. But if you were to say that how else would he execute the instruction of Bhagavan? Now you go to Badri. Tatraha yasya harihi sarvadukha harta api prabhuhu akrityam ingitam api tatyaja agrasto ingitam ityamaraha prajadevishu tad yatama chiram roshtham शुश्रूषध्वं पति सति इतिवद आज्ञादान समये यदि किमपि इंगितम् अकरिष्यत् तदा महासुबुद्धिः असौ उद्धवः उद्रेकाश्रमणः आगमिष्यत् तत्समीपे एव अस्थास्यत् इत्यर्थः. In response to that, it is pointed out that the Lord Krishna would have harihi api tatyaje akritya. This has a double meaning here. The second meaning is to be understood from this. That Hari itself indicates that Lord Krishna takes away everyone's distress. So Lord Hari himself, he would have given some sign, because Akriti also means a sign. Just as in Bhagavatam 10.29.22, when the Lord was speaking to the goddesses of Vraja, the young gopis of Vrindavan, all of you please go home and please serve your respective husbands. So there also Krishna is giving an order. So like that, Krishna would have given some sign. And this Uddhava, he has extremely great intelligence. So understanding that sign, he would not have gone to Badrikashrama. He would have stayed with the Supreme Lord himself, near him. So with this in mind, Parikshit asked this question. According to Sri Jiva Goswami, Mithanam means the transcendental abode of the Lord. Ni means the highest, and Dhanam means opulence. And because the abode of the Lord is the highest manifestation of transcendental opulence, his abode can therefore be called Nidhanam. Apart from the grammatical elucidation, the real purpose of the word Nidhanam is to indicate that all the members of the Vrishni and Bhoja dynasties were direct associates of the Lord. And after the end of his pastimes, all the associates were dispatched to their respective positions in the transcendental abode. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur elucidates the meaning of Akritam as pastimes. A means complete and Kritam means transcendental pastimes. Since the Lord is identical with his transcendental body, there is no question of his changing or quitting his body. To act in accordance with the rules and customs of the material world, the Lord seems to take his birth and leave his body, but the pure devotees of the Lord know well the actual fact. It is necessary, therefore, for the serious students of Srimad Bhagavatam to follow the notes and comments of the great acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti. To others who are not devotees of the Lord, the comments and explanations of such acharyas may appear to be grammatical jugglery. But to the students who are in the line of disciplic succession, the explanations of the great acharyas are quite fit. See, the idea is this. In the disciplic succession, the proper procedures with which we understand the Shastra are carefully observed in a verifiable manner. So, there are methods by which we understand the scriptures. We have to consider what comes before, what comes later. These are called Shadlingas, the 6 indicators of the purport of a scripture. This is all, like this, there are several different processes with which we understand the purport of the Vedic scriptures. This is all from the Mimamsa system, which is accepted by the Vedantists in their study of Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta Sutra, and amongst followers of Srimad Bhagavatam, they apply that to Srimad Bhagavatam also. So Srila Jiva Goswami, Vishnu Chakravarti, they know these things. Based on that only they are doing this analysis and coming to their respective conclusions, which fit in the overall Mahatatparya, the great import of this particular text. As we keep studying, then these things become evident. The word Upagateshu is also significant. All the members of Vrishni and Bhoja directly reach the abode of the Lord. Other devotees do not reach the abode of the Lord directly. But the pure associates of the Lord have no attraction for the opulence of any planets of the material world. Sometimes, due to inquisitiveness, devotees who are to be promoted to the abode of the Lord have some attraction for the opulence of the higher material planets above the earth, and thus they desire to see them while going up to the perfection. But the Vrishnis and Bhojas were directly dispatched because they had no attraction for material planets. The Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur also suggests that according to the Amarokosha dictionary, Akriti also means signal. Lord Krishna ordered Uddhava by signal to go to Badrikashrama after the Lord's departure, and Uddhava, as a pure devotee of the Lord, carried out the order faithfully instead of going back to Godhead or the abode of the Lord. That was the cause of his remaining alone, even after the departure of the Lord from the face of the earth. So the last two sentences that actually conveys the conclusion. That will be Shukadeva Goswami's answer, that which is going to come now in the text itself. Shukadeva Goswami is going to answer that. But the last two sentences of this purport takes into account what Shukadeva Goswami is going to say. He already gives us the conclusion. 29. Shri Shukovacha. Brahmashapapa deshena kalena van chittaha samhritya swakulam sphitam tyakshan deham achintayat. Shukadeva Goswami replied, "My dear king, the cursing of the Brahmanas was only a plea, but the actual fact was the supreme desire of the Lord. He wanted to disappear from the face of the earth after dispatching his excessively numerous family members. He thought to himself as follows." There's something in the chat box. Sometimes due to inquisitiveness, devotees who are to be promoted to the abode of the Lord have some attraction for the opulence of the higher material planets above the earth. Thus, they desire to see them while going up to the perfection. To whom Prabhupada is writing this? What is this to whom? He's writing for us only. His books are primarily for his followers. Are there any examples of this? The Swanishtas, this is how they make spiritual progress. They go from human to demigod, like that. Gradually they go. Prabhupada also is reported to have said by his disciples that most of his disciples will actually become demigods. I mean, it's a standard thing that if you have desire for dharma, artha, kama, then these things are natural. 29. Tyakshan deham. Tyakshan deham. While about to give up his body, literally. So Madhvacharya, he quotes from Skanda Purana. Prithvi loka santyaga dehatyago harisprataha. Lord Hari is giving up the earthly world, Prithvi loka, is considered to be him giving up his body. Nityananda Swarupatvat Anya Naiva Naivopalabhyate. Must be typing mistake. Because his very nature is eternal bliss. Darshaye Janamohaya Sadrishim Mritakakritim. Nattavad, it is Nattavad. Come on. Bhagavan Vishnu Parajnana Kriti Swayam. The Lord, in order to bewilder the world, presents an identical dead body, like a dramatic performer. So in this way, Bhagavan Vishnu, uh, who is himself the very form of transcendental knowledge, engages in these different activities. Another quotation: Rajan parasthi tanuvrit jananap ye ha maya vidambanam avaihi yatha natasya. This might be Bhagavatam itself. You should understand that Krishna is simply mocking at this world by bringing about his magical powers. Brahmashapah apadeshah misham yasya tena khalena swashakti rupena khalena mukhavanchittah. Time itself is his own potency. So there's no question of the force of destructive time ever having an effect on him. Amogham vanchitam yasya. Whatever he desires unfailingly turns out to be true. Nahi atra shapah prabhu kintu bhagavad ichha eva ityartha. In this regard, the curse of the Brahmanas has no power over the Supreme Lord. It's simply the will of Bhagavan that these things happen. Evan evam Yakshyan deham iti cha gyayam. Deham virat akaram. Lajiva Goswami says, giving up the body means giving up this universal body. Purvokta hetatvat, because the reason has already been stated. Etacha Sri Krishna Sandarbhasya tri navati tama vakya praghatta drishtiya vicharyam. This should be understood from Anucheda 93 of Sri Krishna Sandarbha. Tatahi taddevam yadyapi bhagavat. Is he quoting? Oh, quoting a lot. He is himself giving so many arguments, and then finally he says, if you have specific inquiries, look at Krishna Sandarbha 93. Wow. I'm just going to summarize it. Several quotations. And he gives very fine arguments in Krishna Sandarbha that I already knew. Tathahi. And the argumentation is as follows. If it is established that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, then it is proven that he is eternally in his eternal form. Tathapi mandadhyam hranti hanartham idam vriyate. Still, for removing the misconceptions of people of dull intelligence, this is now elaborated. Okay, I'm not going to go on this details. He refers to 5.17.14 to point out that in the various varshas, the various avatars are all being worshipped. And if they don't exist in the spiritual world, why are they being worshipped? Sannidhanam cha idam sakshad rupena Shri Pradyumna Adav Gativilasadir Varanitatva. And all of these different forms of Sri Pradyumna and others are described as actually being there and engaging in these activities. Only if it is understood that they are eternal, then the distinctions between Narasimha and other various forms amongst the Shalagrama Shilas can be logically explained. Tattad avatara sannidhyadeva hi tattad bhedaha. All these distinctions are because these avatars are factually there. तथा श्री कृष्णम अधिकृत्य अपि गीतम श्री कृष्ण सहस्रनाम प्रारंभे श्री विष्णु धर्मोत्तरे तस्य हृष्टाशया स्तुत्या विष्णु रूपांगनावृतः तापिंच श्यामलं रूपं पिंचोत्तम समदर्शयत् इति. So in Vishnu Dharmottara also, Vishnu as being surrounded by the gopis, and this comes in at the beginning of Sri Krishna Sahasranama. And then further, there are further statements to the same effect in Padma Purana also. The Supreme Lord, in a conversation with Brahma, there Krishna reveals uh, uh, his original form to Brahma with all the various details. He reveals Golaka Vrindavan, the Gopi girls, the Gopa boys, the Kadamba trees, and so on. In Trailokya Sammohana Tantra also, while describing the 18-syllable mantra, similarly, Gautamiya also, in all of these places, it is always described that the Supreme Lord has the particular characteristics of Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. And we find in Gopala Tapani, which is Shruti, there also, you see in Brushanaradiya, right at the very beginning, you find there you find that the Supreme Lord is described as the master of Vrindavan and so on. That Krishna is always found in Dwaraka with Rukmini, eternally lives there at his home. That is found in Skanda Purana. In Dwaraka Mahatmya section by Sri Prahlad to Bali. Padma Purana, Kartika Mahatmya, there also. So the idea is that all these mantras are there. Okay. Even what to speak of all this? Even if you look at the Prayaschitta scriptures, there also you see Bodhayanas scripture. There Krishna is described as Govinda, as Gopijana Vallabha, the killer of the Kamsa Asura, and the one who is satisfied with Godana, and so on. That is very, very clear that Krishna exists with his features in the spiritual realm as Govinda, Sachidananda Vigraha. So, the Swayam Bhagavan form, so if these avatars are all eternal, then the Supreme Lord Swayam Bhagavan, naturally he would also be eternal. Even in 1.3.1, Jagrihe Paurusham Rupam, and then he accepted the form of the Purushavatar. The great guru of the Tattvavadis has commented, Vyaktya Jagrihe, when it says that he accepted the form of Purushavatara, accepted actually means revealed. He revealed the Purushavatara form. And then Madhvacharya quotes from Tantra Bhagavata, in which it is pointed out that the forms of Rama, Krishna, and so on, all of these are described as being always there and simply being revealed. So, in order to, in consideration of people of dull minds, it is said that Lord Janardana accepted and rejected the forms of Rama, Krishna, and so on. Actually, these forms are simply revealed forms of Krishna, Rama, and so on. No, this is wrong. This Madhvacharya doesn't say this. He's confused, but this is Jiva Goswami himself. Therefore, in 1.12.11 also, Swami also says that the Supreme Lord, he disappeared. He did not go somewhere else. He disappeared. And then there is Shruti evidence found in Madhvacharya's Bhashya to the Brahma Sutra, Vedanta Sutra. Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Aham, Matsyaha, Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha, Vamana, Rama, 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 Krishna, Buddha, Kalkiraham, Shatadaham, Sahasraham, Itahaham, Anantaham, Naivete Jayante, Naivete Mriyante. I am Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. I am Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha, Vamana, Rama, 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 Krishna, Buddha, and Kalki. In 100 ways I am there. In 1,000 ways I am there. I am away from this place. I am also eternal. None of these are born. None of these die. Na esham ajnanavandaha. There is no, they are not, none of these forms are bound by ajnana. Na muktihi. And there is no question of liberation. Sarve eva hyeta ete purnaha. All of them are perfect. Ajaraha, free from old age. Amritaha, free from death. Paramaha, Paramanandaha, they are transcendental, filled with transcendental bliss. This is quoting from Chaturveda Shikha. Similarly, Nrsimha Purana. In every yuga, Lord Vishnu, he protects this world, kills the evil while taking shelter of his Anadimurti. Anadimurti means form which has no beginning. Sachan Simatapanyam tad bhashya krudbhir yakhyatam. In the commentary to Nrsimhatapani Upanishad also, it is stated, Etan Nrsimha Vigraham Nityam. This form of Nrsimha is eternal. Utischa Sa Yam. And the Shruti itself, Nrsimhatapani, Uttarakhanda, it's called Uttara Nrsimhatapani. That also clearly says, Ratam Satyam Param Brahma Purusham the Kesari Vigraham. The form of Narasimha is the Purusha. He is the Param Brahma. He is the absolute truth. Vratam Satyam. Evam cha Brahma Padmottara Khandadav Shri Matsya Deva Adinam cha Pratak Pratak Vaikunthati Lokashruyante. Therefore, in the Uttarakhanda of Padma Purana as well as in the Brahma Purana, it is stated that Sri Matsya Deva and other forms of the Lord have their own individual Vaikuntha locus, or they have their individual worlds in Vaikuntha, etc. Evameva Jaleshu Mam Rakshatu Matsyamurti Hiti Narayana Varma Adi Uktamapi Sangachate. And then this also fits in nicely with the Narayana Kavacha, Narayana Varma that we will see in the 6th canto. May the form of Matsya protect me in the waters. So, if the Matsya Murti is not permanent and eternally there, then why would such a prayer be there? Tasmat Swayam Bhagavati Shri Krishnepi Anyatha Sambhavanam Anadi Papa Vikshepa Eva Hetuhu. It is simply due to beginningless sin, being agitated by beginningless sins, that one conceives of Sri Krishna to be not of this form, not of this nature. तदेवम् अभिप्रेत्य तान् दुर्बुद्धीनपि बोधयितुं तस्य स्व उपास्यत्वं प्रतिपादयन्नाह पतिर्गतिश्चान्दिक वृष्णिसात्वतां प्रसीदतां मे भगवान् सतां पतिः इति. In order to enlighten people of dull intelligence and keeping in mind all the scriptural evidence pertaining to the eternality of all of these different forms of the Lord, what to speak of the form of Swayam Bhagavan Krishna himself as being eternally true beyond material existence. Shukadev Goswami speaks 2.4.20, much after Krishna's disappearance. Atra Vishesha Jigyasa Chet Shri Krishna Sandarbho Drishyaha. If one has specific inquiries about this, then they should consult Shri Krishna Sandarbha. Achyutanam Prabhu. Yes. Does Achyutanam Prabhu have a question or not?
Prabhu, sorry, bro. In the purport, there is a line where Srila Prabhupada says that Lord is having transcendental form, but when he comes in the vision of the material people, there is this Virat form. So I could not understand that line exactly. That why a Lord has to assume Virat form to reveal himself.
Where does he say? Where does he say that? Where does he say that?
In the purport, this is coming after Ata Shri Krishna Namadi verse from Padma Puran. This line.
Which purport?
29th purport, Prabhu.
I haven't even come to the purport. Give me a chance. I'm still with Jiva Goswami.
28.
28? 20 or 28? Which purport is that?
I'm sorry, bro. It is 29th purport only. I read it a little in advance.
Just wait. It'll come to all this. Okay, Chakravarti. Pramaha. Mama prapancha agochari karane visham tena swatulam sampriti achintaya. So when the Supreme Lord, when he justified his own dynasty as a pretext, right, keeping them out of the vision of prapancha, using the curse of the Brahmanas, then he thought as follows. This way of thinking will come out from text 30. Kalena amokham mokham yathi kartum ashakyam vanchatam ichchayasya sah. Kalena amokha vanchitah have to be read together. Even by the force of material time, his desires cannot not fulfilled, cannot be wasted. Spitam swamaryadatah ativistrutam deham yakshyan achintayat. While desiring to give up this extensive body, which is greater than all of the boundaries that exist. देहस्य सच्चिदानन्दरूपत्वेन भूत्वेऽपि स्वरूप अनिबन्धनं प्रापञ्चिकलोकचक्षुर्गोचरीभूतत्वमेव स्वीतत्वम्. What does this mean? This means that when his body, which is actually all pervading as a Sachidananda form, without his original nature, when it comes within the range of the vision of the population of material existence, that is what is referred to here. So he desired that it should not be like that anymore. I mean, it should not be able to see. That's all. तत्र स विशेषणे हि निषेध विशेषणं उपसङ्क्रामतः सति विशेषवाद्ये इति न्यायेन त्यागक्रिया विशेषण एव अन्वयति न यथा चैत्रो राजा भवति देहं पुष्टमसौ चकार इयं साध्वी स्त्री नष्टा भवदिति अत्र त्यागक्रियाया देहे अन्वयवादः भगवद्देहस्य सच्चिदानन्दरूपत्वेन नित्यत्वात्. Now, there's no possibility of the Supreme Lord's body being abandoned by the Supreme Lord, because Bhagavan's body is eternal, because it is Sachidananda nature. And it is known from the Mahavaraha Purana quote, Sarve Nitya Shashvatascha Dekhas Tasya Paratmanaha. This was Dekhas Tasya Paratmanaha. Rahita Naiva Prakriticha Kvachit Paramananda Sandoha Gyamatrascha Sarvataha. All of the Supreme Lord's forms are eternal, everlasting. All of those bodies are eternal, everlasting. They are devoid of destruction, nor are they ever created. They are certainly not created from Prakriti. They are concentrated supreme bliss. They are nothing but consciousness in every manner. And then he goes from the Shruti. And we've got similar quotes. These quotes we've already seen. Treva, Krishna Diyo Mani, Nimloche, here also. The example of the setting of the sun like Krishna, Adaya Antarathat Yastu Swabimbam Lokalochanam. He made his own form disappear. This is 3.2.7, 3.2.11. Brajapura Vanitanam Ardhayan Kamadevam, 10.90.48. Jayati Jananivaso, that verse. There, all of that by the usage of the present tense then actually. We understand from these statements of Shruti and Smriti, we understand Krishna's forms to be eternal. With those respective characteristics, they are eternal. So these ones can be consulted. There are several statements which can be consulted. Atra prakatarthena dehatyagam avagamya purvaparavakya virodham avadhyapya cha asura prakritiya eva Prema Bhakti Amritad Vanchitaha Shri Bhagavatasya Mohani Vyakyatatva Vyakhyasya Manatvacha. Now, since Sri Bhagavata has already been shown to have the feature of Mohini, those who are deprived of the nectar of Prema Bhakti, those with demoniac nature, they consider the superficial meaning of statements like this. Krishna is giving up his body, without considering that such an understanding would contradict what came before and after these statements. So therefore, they have these kind of conceptions. They interpret and misinterpret in this manner both here and later on. Unamiti Pathi Swamsharupam Narayana Avatar Kale Swasmin Vaikuntha Agatya Militam Samprati punar Vaikunthe Prasthapayitam Swadeha Vibhajyati Akshyam. Where does Nonam come here? Looks like Nonam comes as a alternate reading for some word here. They will replace it out which one. It's now about that. He concludes by saying, Deham Viranakaram Uchimiti Sandarbha. Now Sandarbha says that the body here refers to earth, Virat, universal form specifically, and the earth. This verse from is not ending here. In this verse, Protyakshyam is very significant in relation to Lord Sri Krishna's leaving his body. Since he is the eternal form of existence, knowledge, and bliss, his body and his self are identical. Therefore, how is it possible that he would leave his body and then disappear from the vision of the world? There is a great controversy amongst the non-devotees or Mayavadis about the mysterious disappearance of the Lord, and the doubts of those men with the poor fund of knowledge have been very elaborately cleared by Jiva Goswami in his Vishasandarbha. According to the Brahma Samhita, the Lord has many forms. It is stated therein that the Lord has innumerable forms. When he appears within the vision of the living entities, as Lord Krishna actually appeared, all such forms amalgamate with him. Besides all these infallible forms, he has his universal form as manifested before Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Here in this verse, the word Spitam is also used, which indicates that he lived his gigantic universal form called the Virat Rupa, not his primeval eternal form, because there's hardly any possibility of his changing his form of Sachidananda. This simple understanding is at once realized by the devotees of the Lord, but those who are non-devotees who perform hardly any devotional service to the Lord either do not understand this simple fact or purposely raise a controversy to defeat the eternity of the transcendental body of the Lord. This is due to the defect called the cheating propensity of the imperfect living entities. The practical experience also is seen up to the present day that the Lord's transcendental form is worshipped by devotees in different temples, and all the devotees of the Lord factually realize that the form of the deity in the temple is not different from the form of the Lord. This inconceivable performance of the internal potency of the Lord is described in the Bhagavad Gita 7.25. Aham Prakasha Sarvasya Yogamaya Samavita. The Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. The Padma Purana it is said that Shri Krishna Namagina Bhaved Grahyam Indriyai. The Padma Purana statement is that what Navanamina. That verse, how does it begin?
Nam Chintamani Krishna.
Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nityamukto Bhinnatvan Namanamina. That is stated in Padma Purana. And the next verse is a natural conclusion of that statement. The name and form of the Lord cannot be perceived by the material senses, but when he appears within the vision of the mundane people, he assumes the form of the Virat Rupa. This is an additional material exhibition of form and is supported by the logic of a subject and its adjectives. In grammar, when an adjective is taken away from the subject it modifies. That means the subject that it explains does not change. Similarly, when the Lord quits his Virat Rupa, his eternal form does not change, although there is no material difference between himself and any one of his innumerable forms. In the fifth canto, it will be seen how the Lord is worshipped in different places and different planets in his different forms, even now, and how he is worshipped in different temples of this earth also. Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur have very elaborately explained this incident of the Lord's disappearance in their commentaries, quoting various authentic versions of Vedic literatures. We purposely do not include them all here to avoid an increase in the volume of this book. The entire matter is explained in the Bhagavad Gita as quoted above. The Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. He always keeps himself out of the vision of the non-devotees, who are devoid of love and devotion, and thus he puts them still further away from the Lord. The Lord appeared on the invitation of Brahma, who prayed before the Kshirodakshai Vishnu, and therefore, when the Lord appeared, all the forms of Vishnu amalgamated with him, and when the mission was fulfilled, all of them separated from him in the usual course. 30. Okay, so what was the question? Achyutanam Prabhu, you had a question.
Prabhuji, Prabhupada is writing that the name and form of the Lord cannot be perceived by the material senses. But when he appears within the vision of mundane people, he assumes the form of the Virat Rupa.
He becomes the super soul of this universe. And when that happens, then the universe is considered to be his extended body. So that is what is meant by this expression. He assumes the form of the Virat Rupa.
Prabhu, can you please explain little more? I am still not getting it.
See, the Supreme Lord has his spiritual forms. So when he comes to this world, he becomes the Purusha avatars. Now, there are 3 Purusha avatars. There is Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. Take Garbhodakshaya Vishnu as an example. He enters into a particular universe. Into each Brahmanda he enters. So only after he enters into that universe begins to function. Because before that, it is incapable of functioning. So therefore, he is considered to be the Atma of this universe. Now, if he is the Atma of the universe, then the universe is the Deha of the Lord. Because Atma and Deha are counter correlations. When you talk about something being the soul and something else, you'll have to accept as the body. Because you cannot be the soul of something if that is not to be accepted as the body. So this metaphor is very commonly used. In fact, the entire Vishishtadvaita scheme of Ramanujacharya is based on Sharira Shariri Bhava. This concept of the Supreme Lord being the soul and the universe being his body. Now, he has his own body. Swarupanu Deha. His body which is intrinsic to him. Like Krishna, Rama, like Narasimha in the spiritual world. We are not talking of those bodies. We are talking about the universe which can only function when Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters into it. So that which can only function when something else has entered into it can be referred to as a body in the philosophical sense. So this universe is philosophically considered to be a body of Lord Vishnu. This is not his eternal body, but it is by extension, in a philosophical sense, you can refer to it. So when he enters into this universe, then this body, this is now considered to be the Virat Deha or Virat Rupa of the Lord. That's all. Virat simply means Vishwa, Vishwa Rupa, Vishwa Deha. That's all. So now you will have to say that therefore the scriptures use this kind of language. And then he became the universe. He became the universe does not mean he literally became the universe. It means that he has become the super soul of this universe, the very soul of this universe. Krishnamenam aveshitvam atmanam akhilatmanam. He is the soul of the souls also, Jivatman also. But he is also the soul of the universe. Antaryami Brahmana. There's one section in the Upanishads which elaborately describes it. Okay. Chat box. I don't want to become demigod. Okay, that's a good news. We don't want to become anything other than an eternal servant of Krishna. That is very good. How to avoid this? First of all, demigods are greater Vaishnavas than human beings by default. How to avoid this means then you'll have to fully surrender unto the Lord like a Paranishtita or a Nirapeksha. This Gopala Tapani Upanishad is about what? It is about Gopala. There is Gopala Tapani, Nrsimha Tapani, Rama Tapani. They're all specifically about specific forms of the Lord. Gopala Tapani is in 2 parts. It is published together. Within ISKCON also they have published it. There's a good edition with Baladev Vidyabhushana Prabhu's commentary, translated by Baladev Das, Gopalapani Upanishad. Good. This is a very important literature. It is Shruti evidence about Krishna. Okay, I think we should stop with that for today. I should just note down where we stopped. Okay, I should then start with 3.4.30. 3.4.30. That's where I should begin. Okay. Pasindeभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.